Hey y'all, welcome back to the third Team LocoFit Roundtable. Myself, owner of Team LocoFit, and coaches Jillian, Karina, and Lauren, as well as training director Ryan, are all here today. Super pumped. Again, thank you guys so much for the feedback on the past two. And now we are live on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. We are officially moving on up in the world on all platforms for you guys. So there's no excuse you can't listen to this. But in any case, diving right in. So the first one that I wanted to go over today was what to eat before early training. So this is a question I actually got. Actually, all these questions were questions that I got off of my Instagram because I made a question box and forgot to answer it. But there were some awesome questions, so I figured we would address a few of them here. And just early morning training is something that a lot of our clients have to do just based on their schedule. For some people, it just works out a lot better. And if you're going to be working a full day and then you come home and it's late and you're unmotivated and you're not going to get a workout in, well, working out early is definitely going to be the best bet for you. And some people just feel a lot better in the morning with training. Of course, there are other considerations as well. But in general, if you're training in the morning, should you eat? Should you fast? And if you are eating, kind of what should you eat? So I know Lauren trains early. Karina used to train early. Ryan definitely doesn't train early. And I don't think you ever really train
I'm
fasted,
kind of
Jill.
in the middle. Like I'll train in the morning, but sometimes it's fasted, sometimes it's not. So just
yeah, you're not getting up at 4:30
no,
or 5 and working out. No,
no, you can't
that's
pay me to do that.
yeah. So that's kind of who we're talking about. That was specifically the question. I think it was, hey, I'm training at 5:30. Should it be fasted, or if I'm eating, what should I have? So speaking from experience, we could all kind of talk about this from both a training perspective as well as a nutrition perspective. So Lauren, what did you kind of do this past year and kind of switch into?
Yeah, so I have kind of two things here. First of all, before I went the keto route and I was working out at between 5:30 a.m. or 6 a.m., I was just doing my coffee and then a protein isolate. So I was using Formula One by First Form, rapid assimilation, so quick digesting, gets a little something in your stomach if you don't want to be completely fasted. Now, when I switched to the ketogenic lifestyle, I actually am completely fasted now besides some exogenous ketones. The reason for that for me is because when you are running on ketones, those are kind of flowing through you on a cellular level. Therefore, you don't need to like ingest a ketogenic food to get that energy. Whereas if you're running on carbs for fuel and glucose, you're going to need to have a fast acting carb to get that energy out. So that was kind of my experience. I have clients that I usually tell if they're okay fasted for now, but as maybe if we're cutting and the calories start to go down a little bit and they find that maybe they need a little something to help them with their energy that early, you're more than welcome to do even like half a shake and maybe like a fourth a scoop of ignition or some sort of quick digesting carb powder. That way something isn't sitting heavily in your stomach, but you still have a little something to burn through.
Yeah, the intra-workout carbs is really where I think play like a huge role here. The big issue with people who are training early is typically twofold that I'm sure that we all see is one, I don't like eating in the morning, and then training, I don't feel very good. Like from a digestion perspective, I can't relate to that, but a lot of people do. I could eat a gallon of ice cream and go work out, which is obviously not ideal, but I'm just saying that eating a protein shake wouldn't necessarily bother me. But the other issue is say you are dieting, or even if you are just regular calories, if you start eating really early, a lot of times that will ramp up hunger. And if you have less calories to eat, during the day, it's going to be hard to kind of eat something before the session. So in any case, I would say that the best case, even in the most restrictive situations, would be even half a scoop. So 10 grams of intra-workout carbs with some aminos, with some electrolytes. That's going to kind of be your best bet, unless you are obviously doing keto. If you're doing any other type of diet that is carb-based, I would suggest doing that. And even in the most dire situations of a diet, you can typically have 10 grams of carbs. Now, I will say for people who are super, super low, like the last few weeks, obviously that can get tough. But if we are doing a contest prep, training intensity is really important. So, I'd rather you maintain your training intensity versus eat something later when it's not as needed. So,
Yeah,
I was going to say too.
Everybody like,
sorry, I had my hand
I forgot
mine.
Yeah,
I know on the screen. So I really quick, I just wanted to emphasize electrolytes. So for sure, if you are fasted, making sure that you are taking in sodium before, whether that's supplement or literally adding salt into your water is super important. And I do like to see the carb paired with a protein. So again, even if you're just doing a fourth of a scoop or half a scoop of intra, making sure that you're doing like a half a scoop or something of the protein powder as well, just so it's matched.
One thing I would also like to add is, well, as far as like what to eat early in the morning, nothing that'll make you like poop your pants. Like for example, MCT oil, if you're not
Karina's new motto.
Personal experience. But and then also like peri-workout nutrition, if you do have to train fasted, because I used to train fasted all the time. I used to wake up at like 5 to be training by 5:36. And I didn't like eating that early because I was also dieting at the same time. Now, Lauren and I had agreed that I can't do that at this point in my diet because my calories are low. But say your calories are higher, but you still are not comfortable eating so early, just being conscious of the last meal you have the day before, because now that is considered your pre-workout meal. And so what I personally used to do is just make sure that like the last meal of the previous day was, you know, moderate protein, a little like moderate carb, higher carb, depending on, you know, how I'm distributing my carbs throughout the day. But typically like my highest carb meals would be my last meal, because that would be my pre-workout meal before the next morning, and then my post-workout meal after that early morning workout.
Yeah, that's actually something I did for like the longest time, where I would have like a moderate-ish carb meal at night. And then I was training fasted for like years. I just preferred it because I didn't like having anything in my system, or I just felt like slower, I guess, if I ate right before my workout. So I would have the moderate-ish carb meal right before bed, or at least like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours before bed. And then that would kind of give me enough for the morning. And I wasn't working out like 5 a.m. I was working out maybe like 8 or 9. But I still felt like that helped a lot with just not wanting to have that meal first thing in the morning. And now I've kind of switched that up, you know, being on a more structured like feeding window. But when I did train fasted a lot more, that worked wonders for me.
Yeah, I think that you guys nailed it with that. That's the pre-workout meal. If you're not eating anything in the morning, make sure that you're having a good amount of calories the night before, or like at least preparing for the training the next morning. So that being your pre-workout, and the electrolytes is another huge thing. So I've also been known to eat bouillon cubes. I haven't done that in a while.
Oh my God. Ew.
I know. I don't think I would recommend them, but it was something that was pretty easy, and it's like full of a lot of sodium. So I would chop it up and like throw a couple in my mouth and then swallow it like a pill. Don't let it dissolve too quickly though, because then it's just salt all in your mouth, and you're not going to want to. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. So
that is the
key. I think Brian needs to come up with like an ebook of all the weird shit he's done with food.
Yeah, do that at your own discretion. That's your own risk there.
That will literally be our most downloaded ebook.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, when he started doing that, I wanted to yak everywhere. And bouillon and just broth in general tastes really good. So like I would just drink it, you know what I mean? Like I don't mind doing that, but I was like, do not put me down for bouillon cube. However, one good electrolyte supplement to kind of round this out is called thermotabs, and you can get these at any drugstore. They are supposed to dissolve in your water or whatever fluid. They don't really dissolve that great, so we actually have just ended up like swallowing them like a pill. Again, make sure you have enough water to chug that though, because if it does get caught there, you're like, oh, sodium.
If you put it in like an hour before, it'll dissolve, but like don't just throw it in there and expect to drink it and it's going to be dissolved immediately.
Yeah. It's not a perfect system, but thermotabs are really great. And yeah, like we all have kind of touched on, this is a little bit more important if somebody is in a dieting scenario. So if you are at either maintenance or a surplus and you ate a sizable meal the night before, you're going to be able to go in and train fasted and not really feel the detriments. If you are waking up early But I would still recommend doing at least some kind of intra-workout carbs. If you are waking up early and, you are dieting, that's kind of where it gets a little bit dicier. It is possible, but you do just have to manage kind of your nutrition a little bit better, and really, really play into stuff like liquid nutrition. So a hydrolyzed whey isolate, we all use Formula 1, and then, some kind of liquid carbs. Intraformance would be my favorite from First Form, just because of the blend of carbohydrates. So that is morning training nutrition. Now, a few other questions that I got on this was just best workouts in general. People are like, oh, what's your favorite shoulder workout? Oh, I want a booty like yours. How do I do this? And the problem, I think, a lot of times with, I'm like, just eat a lot more. I think a lot of the problems with training and social media as of late is that, and I've talked about this on actually the Unglamorous Life podcast, is kind of the swipe workouts and all this crazy stuff all the time, and nothing's progressive. It's always like, oh, if I'm sweating more, that must mean it's better. And people are jumping around and doing stuff, and they're doing these crazy workouts as a way to get people's attention, right? Because in all honesty, okay, doing Bulgarian split squats aren't really that exciting to watch, right? I mean, like in reality. But if you're doing that coupled with a pulse, and then you do an overhead press, people are like, oh, okay, maybe I'll switch up my workouts and do that. So I think that there's a desire for people to have the best training system as far as body part training. And I think that we will all echo the same thing, that having a structured, progressive training system with the, majority of the basics is really going to be the best bet. Now, that does not mean that there is no room for creativity. That does not mean there's no room for variation. Actually, we all love variation, but it's variations within the normal stuff. So you want to build more shoulders? Well, you should probably do more shoulder pressing and more lateral raises. Can you change how you do that? Yes, there's 100 ways you could do shoulder presses. So don't just do dumbbell overhead press. There's lots of ways that we can obviously get into, but the ultimate thing is that it's coming back to, hey, consistent training years and years and years. And there really is no necessarily best exercise for anything.
So I also want to just point out the fact that we are going after a neuroendocrine response. So you should not
all
be
these
afraid
big ass words, Lauren.
Sorry, you should not be afraid of these compound movements. Now, I will say, if there are some movements that you feel that you can execute better, then that becomes the better exercise for you at that point. It does not matter if somebody else is doing something else. If you cannot execute it properly, you're not going to target the muscles that you're intending to target, and you're at risk for injury. Now, if you're one of our training clients and you want to incorporate a certain exercise, you're not 100% sure, we are more than open to watching a video of your form and correcting that way. But if you're somebody that's on your own, maybe not super familiar with some of these exercises, don't worry. Like, you don't have to have a lot of the exercise that you're seeing in your routine. But I do think that, especially if you're short on time, you're trying to get the most bang for your buck with a workout, the compound lifts, the squat, the deadlift, the bench, a push press, things that are using multi-joint are going to be amazing. And then obviously you can use accessory work, hamstring curls, isolated movements and stuff as needed, but don't shy away from the compound movements. And then to progress those, obviously we can start adding some weight, add a little intensity. So you can always, before you just want to switch up your workout routine and your exercises every week, stick with what you're doing. Let your body kind of adjust. And then once you start to stall out, hit a plateau, then we can switch it up. But people, I think, they're like, all right, great, that was a good week, what's next? And it's like, no, stay here. Let's try to add some weight, because that's how you're going to ultimately grow muscle, change your physique, especially if you're a competitor in the off season and you want to get more development, whatever the case may be. You're going to have to elicit those types of responses that you just can't get from isolated movements. So my personal opinion, gold standard is having compound lifts in your workout routine.
Yeah, I think Instagram fitness, especially, they just are very focused on the new, the attractive, I guess, the really just weird workouts, weird exercises. And I think that makes a lot of people overlook the basics and how valuable the basics are in your training, and how you can gain a lot of progress just from doing simple exercises, simple movements, especially the compound movements, right? So you don't need to be doing a one-legged glute kickback with a spin or whatever in order to build your glutes.
Banded.
Yeah, maybe start with
Number in
simple
between.
movements and build your foundation from those simple movements, and then you'll have more room for more variability in the future. But I think a lot of people just look at the basic exercises and think, oh, those are too boring. But really, these are really important exercises for you to even start out with.
A little newsflash to people. Most training is boring. Like the stuff that works, like I'm just being super honest, like unless you are, well, also I think maybe I should have said preface this a little bit differently. The people who are asking this are asking about muscle building, right? Like they're looking for hypertrophy gains. If you are training for a specific sport, totally different question. If you are just training for fun, maybe that's also a different question. But if you're asking about training for hypertrophy, I would say that that will get a little boring and a little taxing over time, right? Yes, we can have variations. Yes, we can make changes, but don't expect to walk in there and do a different workout every single week. That's not going to be effective. Now, I know that a lot of CrossFit gyms do this and a lot of people really enjoy that, right? But a lot of CrossFit gyms, the people are not necessarily going there just for maximum hypertrophy, right? Like they're going to, hey, I want to join a gym. I want to get in good shape. I want to start training more. And it's a little bit different. Now, again, CrossFit athletes, totally different story than just recreational people who are using CrossFit gyms. Just like a recreational, gym member who takes classes, sometimes works out, whatever. So there's obviously different layers to everything. But I do think that constantly switching your workouts is not something that is going to be the most effective for muscle building. And that is where these questions are stemming from. What do you want to say, Karina? Sorry.
No, you're good. So to kind of like go off of what you said, whereas a lot of the people who are asking about these questions are people who are interested in building muscular hypertrophy. And a lot of the research shows that obviously higher volumes, I mean, I know there's a lot of argument between like volume and intensity and exertion. However, I did look over some papers before we started this conversation because I wanted to make sure I was clear. But I have found that for an athlete, specifically in bodybuilding, physique athletes who want to have an overall more well-developed physique, that it's smart to kind of go through like these waves of higher volume to create that muscle hypertrophy, and then this wave of just like focusing on getting strong. And then you have this like strength base to now take up to higher volumes again, so that you're stronger and training at higher volumes for overall more weight and volume. I know I said volume like 10 times, but I think I'm like, I wish I had a chart to draw, but I don't. Maybe
Karina, volume Naboa.
Yeah.
Just show up next week with like a whiteboard behind you, and then
yeah. So overall, with like we all just covered how sticking to the basics in movement is the most important. Like you can only do so many variations of like an overhead press, a hinge, a row, and that's going to be like the bread and butter of your physique. However, it's also smart to be intentional with, the phases of volume and training, spend some time getting strong, and then spend some time using that newfound strength to, pound out tons of volume, and then, bringing it back down to building strength. I think it's really good to go through those phases of, focusing on strength and hypertrophy. But there's a happy medium somewhere.
I concur. So with what Karina was talking about is basically block periodization. You can go through phases of higher volume, phases of higher intensity. You can blend those models together and do a little bit of heavy stuff and a little bit of volume work. There's a million different ways you can skin the cat, but at the end of the day, my intent for people that want to gain hypertrophy is you come in, you do some kind of mechanical loading. So you lift something relatively heavy. That can be anywhere from, on average, I would say that most of the hypertrophy clients that I have are between 5 and 12 reps for a mechanical loading set, which would usually be a multi-joint movement like what we had touched on. And then doing something to where you have an isolation of the targeted muscle groups that you're working, and that can be any variation. So if you're doing any kind of delt work, do some kind of presses, like Lauren said, do some presses, do some lateral raises. It can be a machine, it can be a dumbbell, a cable, band, whatever. I don't give a shit. Change that up every once in a while, but and this is something we talked to Dr. Scott about, where if you jump into a training block and you go balls to the wall the first week, you have that response of delayed onset muscle soreness. And that doesn't necessarily correlate to improvement or muscle hypertrophy or like any positive gains. You basically just overtax the system a little bit. So he had mentioned a study where they came in and reduced the training volume from the first week or two and kind of had like an introductory week. And it was much lighter. And the other group came in, went balls to the wall. And over 10 weeks, it was about the same muscular hypertrophy gains. So the one group experienced less soreness. The other one had more soreness, but they both wound up in about the same place. So if you're a masochist, maybe you want to jump in and go hard, which is fine. But there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. Basically go in, lift something heavy, isolate the muscles, and walk out with a full muscle. So you have some kind of a pump, some kind of metabolic stress. The muscle feels like you trained it. Like you lifted something hard, and then you walked out and you're like, holy shit, I can barely lift my shoulders because it's so full of blood right now. So if you do those things and you do it for years on end, you're going to have muscle growth. It doesn't matter what else you fuck up. You're training good, you're eating, you're going to grow. And the last thing with multi-joint stuff, if you're not comfortable squatting, if you're coming in and just learning these new movements, it doesn't have to be a barbell squat. It could be a kettlebell squat. It can be a hack squat. You can do regressions and progressions of movement patterns until you feel comfortable and able to move your body through time and space and then be able to load it efficiently to where you can have progress and make progressive gains instead of just jumping into something and hurting yourself. So that was my little spiel.
Yeah, I think a lot of people here when they say like, oh, you should train hard, you know, you have to train heavy, you have to do compounds, they automatically think, well, if I'm not back squatting 225, I'm doing it wrong. Again, a lot of people are not going to be able to do that. So if you can load up a kettlebell squat and get really, really great form, you're going to see better hypertrophy than doing a suboptimal back squat. And then again, kind of the mental aspect of being like, oh, I'm not doing enough, this and that. I have some clients who like, oh, I only deadlifted this much. I know it's not a lot. And I'm like, no, that's a great amount. Like you don't need, you know, if you're comparing yourself to a power lifter who is exclusively trying to get stronger, well, then it's a different story. But again, going back to muscle hypertrophy, consistency, using proper compound movements, and then using these different mechanisms of hypertrophy that we know of, you know, mechanical tension, metabolic stress, and things like that. Honestly, if you just type in like mechanisms of hypertrophy from Dr. Brad Schoenfeld, he has a really great study. It's actually on my desk. I was going to read it and just highlight some stuff. It's pretty basic. Yeah, it's there. I think it's from like 2010. And it's the second one.
You got a lot of papers here, you dork.
I know. Okay. I got 2 printed out for this week. So in any case, last question, and it's another training one. I know we touched a lot on diet last week, but I did get a lot of training questions, so I wanted to touch on this a bit more this week for the roundtable. And this was also just a pretty general question, but what is the best split for training? And this person specifically was asking about a 6-day push-pull legs off split. And I think that we can all, you know, speak to different, you know, training splits. And I'll say, you know, once and for all, there is absolutely no one best training split. However, I think that one thing is clear, that most people, unless you are super, super genetically elite gifted, are not going to build as much muscle training body parts once a week. Now, if you're looking to just maintain, if you're looking to just be a little bit healthier, that's fine. You're looking for maximal muscle growth. Most people are going to need to hit body parts that they're looking to grow twice a week. I find that once it's a little bit more than that, it can be harder, but that again comes with just total volume for the week. But you're looking at a solid, you know, twice a week for each body part that you're really looking to grow. And let's say you have like a dominant body part. Yeah, maybe you hit that one once a week. But if you're looking, hey, I really want more shoulders, you're probably not going to grow them as effectively as possible if you just hit them really hard once a week. Take that same training, split it up over two days instead. And as far as the push-pull legs split, I don't think that's a bad split. We've just kind of seen that a lot of people can't tolerate 6 days per week of training unless their overall volume is pretty low. And if that works for you, then that's totally fine. I know that we've just seen that with a lot of the clients.
One of the clients, well, I'm glad you brought that up. One of the clients that I've been working with for over a year now, he's a 200-poundish male, a lot of previous just gym bro life history, big arms, like to bench. He's been with me for like a year and a half now, and he's gone through phases of just life changes. So I think he just he enjoys training and training a lot. So he likes training in the gym 5 days a week or so, and we make the program to where he can do that. One of the days right now is we're actually doing a push-pull split. He has 2 push-pull days and then an arm day, which is like a floater day. So if he comes in, he doesn't feel great, just do the arms and then move on, do the next training day, do the following harder training on a day that you feel better. Now he went through not a work, but an internship for physical therapy, I believe. And he was there super long hours during the day. So we dropped him down to 2 days a week with a floater day. He hated it, but he was still training and we made the program work and he made progress still. So there can still be phases throughout your life cycle of, even because you enjoy something and you might make a lot of progress doing it, at some point in time, you might have to alter that just for a brief period of time, and you're still going to be able to retain the gains that you've made quite easily. Like, it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to maintain the muscle mass that you've already built. So if you need to put it on the back burner and just be in a maintenance phase, that's cool. And then you can get back to it and push the volume back up as soon as you're able to, and the stressors are reduced. But he responds well to that training. And with the push-pull split, he has a push day, which might be a heavy upper body day, which is like a lot of upper body volume, and then might touch legs a little bit. So he might do a couple leg extensions or lunges or something that's easy, that's not going to tax his nervous system too much, but he's still getting work in. And then vice versa, the next push day will be predominantly legs push and then some upper body pushing pump work. So that's how I like to split that up if they like to be in the gym a shit ton.
I also want to just point out the fact that I personally feel that auto-regulation is important. So yes, I might send you out a training program, 4 or 5 days of training per week, whatever. And so just because the next day is supposed to be like your heavy squat day or whatever the case may be, let's say you were in the car the whole day before you're traveling, or your sleep was really trash the night before or something like that, don't get up and feel like you have to do that day because it is programmed to be that day. Because if you go in there and you feel like shit and you try to push through and do your heavy squats or whatever, first of all, your workout's probably going to suck in general. And second of all, you're at way bigger risk for injury. So having the flexibility to kind of auto-regulate when needed, I think that's really important. And then the same thing that we apply to like how you split up your workouts, I also suggest that people mess around with how they split up their rest days. So I know for me, I was originally doing like Monday through Friday and then taking Saturday and Sunday off. So I was going a 5-2 split. But that was full CrossFit. And I was finding that by that 5th day straight, my energy was really low, and I probably would have benefited more had I taken the 5th day off to recover and then done another day. So I personally really like a 3-1-3 split, because then you get kind of a little break in the middle. And so I think that that's really important too. I think people get so caught up in like push, pull, legs, but in that kind of split that they forget about the rest day split, because the rest days are where you get better, and that is your chance to recover, get ready for your next session. And a lot of times I find that I have to tell clients to back off and even give them homework to take an extra rest day during the week, to kind of get them back to where they need to be.
Yeah, I think going off of what you said, being smart about where you place your rest days, especially as someone who has been in a deficit for a long time. I know for me that unless I take a rest day in the middle of the week, my training Thursday, Friday will be trash. For me, the days that I'm most taxed, like CNS wise, are my first day of training, which is squats, and then my third day of training, which is heavy deadlifts. And so I have to squat, and then I have my heavier upper body day, and then I have to take that rest day, because if I try to squat, have that heavy upper body day, and then deadlift, I am just dead. My like willingness to adhere even to food, like my hunger is through the roof. So and I have like this personal theory of kind of like this weekly accumulation of fatigue, whereas like towards the end of the week I'm dead. And so it really helps for me to have a rest day somewhere in the middle. Obviously I train 5 days a week, so it's not perfectly in the middle, but it's kind of where I need it the most is typically by day 3.
Yeah, I agree. I used to do the legs push pull just 6 days on, 1 day off. And that's a lot. Maybe like when I was first starting to train, when I didn't really know what volume was or anything, it was fine. But by the time I had decided to ask Ryan to do my training, I was like fried by day 4. And then day 4 was a shit workout. And then I got back on it by day 5 and 6. But I really need that 1 day in the middle after day 3 to take a rest day. And I could feel the difference even on our 3rd block now. Like I feel 10 times better. Even
How many
when
days a
we're
week do you now?
what?
How many days a week do you train now?
I train like 5 days a week now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be honestly for me and like for most of our clients, that would be the top end that I would recommend. Typically anybody can train 3 to 5 days, and like that's the happy medium. Usually 4 for most people that have jobs and a normal workload or work schedule. I think upper lower splits are usually like the bread and butter place to start at. And then if you need a little bit more, then we can change it. But that's a great place to start. And you came with the high frequency split anyway, so I think we just changed it a little bit to where you could recover and still train often because you're a gym bunny too. So,
but I think it does depend, again, on energy stores. How much it, what is your background? But me and Ryan actually did a few videos on this on my YouTube channel, all about training stuff. So definitely check those out if you guys haven't already. But in any case, all of these questions, there is a difference of, like I said, working out versus training. So if you are looking for maximal muscle hypertrophy, whether it's for a competitive event or just in general, like that's what you're looking to do, these nuances are going to be a lot more important. If you're looking to just be healthier, more in shape, more fit, have at it. Like do a 30-minute workout every day. That's fine. If you are pushing the limits of, CNS fatigue, if you're pushing the limits of hypertrophy, things are a little bit different. If you're doing a 30-minute circuit workout, you can do that every day if you want. If you're going to go for a short run, then you're going to do a bodyweight circuit, and then you're going to go do a Metcon, like have at it. But there's a big difference of trying to train, make these adaptations. So I think that's kind of where a lot of the issue with like the Instagram fitness is, or just in general, like confusion with people. Like you have to know their goals. Are they looking to train? They're looking to just work out, get in a good healthy lifestyle, or are they looking to are they looking to work out, or are they looking to train and make progression, whether they're an athlete or not? So I think that really will help clarify a lot of points for people. As always, if you guys have questions, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you. You have one more thing?
I have a question.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. We were talking about like training being boring and shit earlier, and like having the need to switch things up and all that.
Little switcheroo.
And that kind of mindset is, you may think that you're bored, but like what's really boring is not making progress. So if you can make progress with some small changes to stimulation and whatever exercises or volume or whatever you need to change around, go ahead and do it. But not making progress is way more boring, way more lame than jumping around doing stuff that doesn't really make a difference. So that's just my little 2 cents on that.
There's Ryan's mic drop.
Yep.
Well,
everyone is gonna do that.
Yeah, right. I just ripped my headphones out.
Don't do it.
I'm out. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, love to hear your feedback. You can always email us at info@teamlocofit.com. If you have not already subscribed to our newsletter, you should do that. So go to teamlocofit.com and you can go to the top, hit subscribe. You can find out all information about coaching and all about us too, if you care. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.